Hey, what's the deal? Miss your boy Tag from Pro Wrestling Tag, you know what I mean? As of this recording, it is 10:43 p.m., March 8th, 2026, but the upload time and day to this is 11:30 p.m., March 9th, 2026, and depending on if there's news or not, if there's some news, then I'll bump this up into Tuesday. Now, I mean, I'll put this on, for Tuesday if there's some news within Monday, but I had to make this video because I'm like stuttering shit. As I'm on Instagram, right? I decide to look at some things. Actually, I get stuff on my feed all the time. Now, I mean, I get a lot of shit on my Twitter feed. I'm sorry, on my Twitter feed that I agree with. There's some things that I don't agree with. But I'm a person who don't really look at wrestlers' podcasts and when they interview other wrestlers, either they're active or they're retired. Because I think some of them, some could be just kayfabing, right? I mean, I have to stop with that mindset. But fuck you, I can't help it. I mean, I definitely can't help it. But I'm looking at an interview that Undertaker did with Gunther, right? In his 6 Feet Under podcast with Michelle McCool, right? And Taker was talking about how, he was talking about like the backstage atmosphere from when he was an actor performer to now, right? And he said something that had me thinking. And I'm like, yo, this is actually fucking true. He actually said something that made me think. I'm like, yo, this is absolutely fucking true. And the perfect person that he said this to was Gunther, without a shadow of a doubt, right? He mentioned how wrestlers in the back, right? He go every time he's backstage at a show, right? A lot of these wrestlers that's on the roster in the back, instead of looking at the monitor, to see the matches and to see where they could improve on and all this other stuff, right? A lot of them actually they waste their time making TikTok videos and such. And I'm like, yo, that's absolutely fucking true. That's absolutely true. And yes, I understand it's a different generation. I get it. You know what I'm saying? I definitely get that, times has changed. The atmosphere is a little bit more laxed than how it was, like some 2 or 3 decades ago. But if you really want to get better, I mean, if you desperately want to get better at your craft, you're going to look at that monitor. And he even said, like, yo, if you wasn't looking at that monitor, back then, I mean, if you wasn't looking at your matches and you wasn't looking at, your performances, back then to see where you can improve. You know what I mean? You're in for a long night. And I'm like, yo, that's absolutely fucking true. That is absolutely true because, again, let's say like, and I understand people make mistakes. I get it. You know what I mean? I get people make mistakes, when they wrestle. And it's for sports too. Sorry about that little pause. What the fuck? You know what I mean? I get it's for sports and everything too, where, nowadays, like people, they just want to make these stupid TikTok videos and these stupid videos on Twitter and everything. And, they want to dance and they want to go viral and everything else and all this other bullshit, right? Instead of getting better. This is why I respect the fuck out of Kobe. This is why I respect the fuck out of Kobe Bryant. Because when Kobe was alive, right, Kobe took his craft seriously. Seriously. You know what I mean? He wanted to be the best. He wasn't wasting his fucking time making these stupid fucking videos on Twitter and Instagram and all this other shit. I mean, he wanted to get better with his game. People like AI were like that. You know what I mean? Like Allen Iverson, who's basically my favorite basketball player of all time, bar none, right? But yeah, I mean, and listen, nobody's saying that you can't, you can't relax in the back and play video games and shit like that. Nigga, I would rather play video games than to smoke. I don't smoke or drink. Know what I mean? I don't do none of that shit. I don't have a problem with them playing video games. I don't. I really don't. You know what I mean? And then, it's funny. Speaking of video games, I remember seeing a WWE Vault video with, the wrestlers at the time when they were making WWF WrestleMania, the arcade game. You know what I mean? Like they were seeing, they were crowded around like an arcade machine of the game. You know what I mean? And the Undertaker kind of like looked and he rolled his eyes and he just, he just went about his business. You know what I mean? Like, but I'd rather do that than to make these stupid fucking videos on TikTok. Oh, you gotta make a TikTok. Oh, you gotta do this. You gotta do that. I'm not doing that shit. Fuck that. What the fuck am I gonna do that for? You know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to get better at my craft. You know what I'm saying? I take this shit seriously. I'm not gonna go and, fuck around and waste time on the fucking phone, just for a fucking viral moment for what? I'm not doing that. Now, I mean, I'm trying to get way better, with my wrestling. You know what I mean? Like if I see a match and I'm like, damn, I could have worked on this, I could have worked on that. Or like if I'm seeing my opponent, like, okay, I want my opponent to do this. I want my opponent to do that. I want my opponent to hit me like, hit me like what I'm seeing now. And, I want my opponent to do this and that and the third to me, right? Yeah, I'm doing that. I'm doing that. See, here's the other thing too. Here's the other thing too, where a lot of these wrestlers can, if you want to go on TikTok and such, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. The best place to do it, honestly, is at a fucking house show. It's at a house show where there's no, no television cameras and such. You can do whatever the fuck you want to do. You know what I mean? Because you're backstage at a WWE live event, right? You can do whatever the fuck you want to do. Like T.I., you can do whatever you like. You know what I'm saying? You can do this, that, and the third. You know what I mean? But when it comes down to Raw, SmackDown, NXT, Evolve, AAA, TNA, you know what I mean? Like, you want to take this shit seriously. You know what I mean? And I kind of feel like, with the exception of Gunther, and I see why people don't like Gunther, and that's fine, because I love Gunther. I think Gunther's fucking great. Now, I mean, Gunther's at a class of his own. I see why people are stuck, in the positions that they're in now. They don't want to get better. You got people who do not want to get better. They don't want to do this. They don't want to do that. You know what I mean? It seems like with TikTok, it seems like they want to, they want to waste more than time, waste more of their fucking time trying to get likes from these losers, from these loser marks, as opposed to working on their craft, looking at the monitor, looking at the impact of their shows and shit like that. I don't know. Maybe I'm too old school. I don't know. I think old school still runs supreme. It still runs supreme. Like you can legit tell who loves the business and who doesn't. You know what I mean? You can fucking tell. You know what I mean? Like you can clearly tell. And again, if this was a house show, you could do whatever the fuck you want to do. You can do whatever the fuck you want to do. You know what I mean? Like you can make your little Hadoukens and you can do stupid dances and all this other shit, right? At a house show, that's fine. But when it comes down to a television show, right? That's a whole different ballgame. Shit, you don't see motherfuckers who are doing movies and shit, like doing these stupid fucking TikToks. You know what I mean? Just to waste time. Nah, if I'm doing a movie, I want to learn how to get better with my acting and shit. Like, where do I want to work on? Now, I mean, what small area, do I want to improve on? I feel like people get a little too comfortable. Now, I mean, they get a little too comfortable and they don't improve, man. They don't fucking improve. But, if this is what you want, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. If you want to sit there and bullshit and not improve on your craft, okay. No problem. No problem, mate. You know what I mean? Anyway, guys, I'm about to be out. I'm going to holler at y'all. Peace.